Annalynn is a 2D arcade platformer heavily inspired by very early Namco games, most apparently from Pac-Man straight down to the mechanics. You play as Annalynn, a titular miner, your goal being to get all the treasure in a level, collect enough coins, and a bonus item spawns which takes the appearance of some kind of breakfast food. The snakes bear a striking resemblance to a ghost, both functioning and named the same way, with Randy, Handy, Candy, and Mike. Randy always goes directly to you, Handy tries to intercept with Randy, Candy does something complex enough that I don't know how to accurately describe it other than that they try and flank you, and Mike tries to avoid you. The snakes are able to use the holes in the back walls to catch up with you, and can also move over the grayed out platforms you fall through. There's a sound it plays every time one enters, so you'll know when to expect them. Areas are grouped into 3 levels, with each one having its own gimmick, with the gimmick usually being explained ahead of time with a cute little cutscene. Additionally, starting from a second area, the snakes are given the ability to drop down from the grayed out platforms should you walk underneath them. They will always do this, so for some situations where you can use this to your advantage. While this gimmick starts with a jungle, this isn't the main mechanic of it. The actual gimmick is that it has ropes, which act like you would expect them to. Because of a snake's newfound downwards power, it ends up being a very not great time because it's really hard to get to the top area as a result. Mixed with a clunky ceiling just sometimes blocking your jumps when you need to the most. Next area is the Lava Factory, which has these fire pillar mines and conveyor belts, and as a whole is just really reminiscent of Metal Man stage from Mega Man 2. The conveyors are actually way more sinister than they seem because mixed with the already ungenerous pitfalls become a really annoying hazard to go over. After that is the Ice Grave, which is my least favorite overall. It has the expected ice floors, but also has the extra fun gimmick of wind! We all love wind, don't we? It activates and alternates what direction it pushes in a predictable pattern, but these make for a pretty sudden jump in difficulty. It's currently what stops me from completing the game without using continues, usually just for being blown to a pit. The Venom Den is much easier overall, having the gimmick of destructible platforms. It's really not a big deal. This leads to the level layout changing over time, as well as giving the snakes more options to get closer to you. It's pretty fun, but surprisingly easy for the final area, especially after Ice Grave. Ugh. After that, the snakes literally get fed up with you and make you fight a Sonic boss. This thing is just straight up the Caterkiller boss from Sonic Mania. You have to collect the blue dots to make your pickaxe appear so you can actually deal damage to a boss. During a fight, they summon 2 robot replicas of Randy and Handy, functioning the same as they normally do. 3 hits and it's over, but you'll be facing some pretty brutal patterns before that. And with that, that's all the stages the game has to offer. Completing them without using any continues is the main goal. You get an infinite amount of continues, but using one will half your score, but I highly recommend using them on your first playthrough. Beating the boss, regardless of continues used, will open up some extra modes, and most importantly, the practice mode, that allows you to play specific levels as much as you want. This is the best area to try and get perfect scores on levels, which nets you a new color palette for Annalynn. You can also get more palettes by beating areas without using continues, and a couple other achievements that still involve getting perfects on levels. My complaints, in quotation marks, about the game are so minor I can only really consider them nitpicks, but I still want to voice them nonetheless. Firstly, I found it super odd that Annalynn doesn't have a victory pose or something like that at the end of the level. The little musical jingle just leading to nothing feels off. She even has a little pose when you boot up a game, so it's not like front-facing Annalynn would be some cursed monstrosity or anything like that, you know? Next, and actually lastly, please give me an option to have the options menu music play on the main menu. I get that the silence is meant to replicate how arcade machines actually worked, but the options music is such a banger. I would force you to listen to it for the next minute if it didn't kill the pacing of this review. It is so good. And that's what Annalynn has to offer. Overall, I think it perfectly succeeds at what it sets out to do. I love just booting up a game and playing a few runs before moving to something else. I've included links to both the Steam page and the itch.io page, so if you want to check it out, you can, and I highly recommend you do. Thank you all very much for watching.